Welcome back on the VST channel. I have here the Xiaomi 14 Pro, which is the latest addition to the VST family, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and of course, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. In this video, I will finish something that is started, but first, of course, I had to remove all these cases as we don't need them. If you have watched my Xiaomi 14 Pro performance camera and initial impression with the unboxing and all, you might have seen that I had to abort the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme stress test while the phone was reaching almost 52 Celsius. So how did I achieve that one? Now first I went, guys, inside the battery option, and inside the battery option there is a performance mode, which I'm gonna switch right now on. We don't have this on the iPhone, and on the Galaxy, guys, you pretty much know that there is only the light or the performance mode. So if I am to hold here, we have a standard and a light mode. So I'm gonna use the standard mode here. What has also changed is the fact that I got a new update yesterday of the Xiaomi HyperOS 10.18.0. I'm running stable Xiaomi HyperOS here, stable iOS 17.1.1, and the stable One UI 6 here, Android 14 BWJM. And old phones, guys, they rested. So what we can see here, we have 30 for the Galaxy, we have 31 for the Xiaomi 14 Pro, 29 for the iPhones. It's time to finish what I started, and I'm gonna use the latest Solar Bay stress test. I'm gonna run this for 20 rounds, guys. So starting here, starting here, starting here. I'm gonna do some poses to measure the temperature of all of those phones, guys. And at the end, the idea will be comparison of the stability rating. Now, why is this new 3D Mark Unlimited test a big thing for phone comparison and actually chip-to-chip comparison? You can already see that the phone is not running the default 3D Mark test where you have some nice animation with sound and you can see the FPS, and you can really cross your fingers and praise yourselves that you spend another $1,000 a year for a phone that hopefully can get you through the day and you can play hours and hours of Genshin. No. The idea here is that they came up with these new limited tests to be able to measure the component performance in a better, more accurate way, which means that there are some factors eliminated from this equation, like display resolution scaling, operating system factors, and vertical sync, which means that right now I have these all different phones. This one has a bigger screen than that one, and this one has a bigger screen than that one. Now, running this test will kind of eliminate these things. And you can also see that there are these tiny frames, and they're rendered in a 720p resolution off screen, right? And then the update that we see on the display is updated with these small thumbnails. And this is done every 100 frames to show the progress. The idea again is to just try to get rid of the factors that can affect the test and have really more comparable results. Because this here, for example, is Apple iPhone. It runs on iOS 17.1. This here is the latest and newest Xiaomi HyperOS, which is technically the spiritual continuation of MIUI, but it's not MIUI. And this here is One UI 6 with Android 14. This, by the way, also Android 14. Time for another temp check, and I can already feel the heat. So 43.3 on the S23 Ultra, 44.5, guys, and I'll guess, yeah, incredible. 43 on the Xiaomi, 44.1. Yep, and the iPhone, yeah, 35. I know that's not realistic, guys. 37. You know what, guys? I'm just going to very slowly just turn it around. All right, and just measure the correct placement. 43.5. I don't know. 44.8. I don't know why the iPhone is built like this, but apparently, maybe because of Face ID and some other elements, the heat really goes at the back, and it's also titanium. Another check. Almost 45 for the S23 Ultra. 46.6 for the Xiaomi. 47.7. All right, 46 on the Ultra, and I have to just turn it, guys. It's impossible. 45 for the iPhone. Another temp check here. 44, rather stable for the Galaxy S23 Ultra. 45. Xiaomi 48.9, but not passing 50. Almost. All right, not passing 50. Almost. And now the iPhone that lies on the front. So we have to turn it on the back to just discover that, yeah, iPhone actually runs cooler. And guys, here breaking news. Yeah, joking, but no, breaking news really, because the Xiaomi 14 Pro finished first. Oh, and it's so hot. I'm not barely able to touch it, I can tell you. 50, all right, so we passed the 50 on the front, and how much on the back? 48, so technically it reached 50. 75% stability and a whooping best loop score of over 8,000. By the way, the graph looks nice, I would say. Started off very strong, stable drop, circa round number 14, and then at the end, the last 5 rounds very stable. So 75% is actually not that bad. I'm not sure if Xiaomi did something with the HyperOS. I only got this 2 days ago, and this is the second update already. Performance range, this here is comparing the frame rates for the best and the worst loops. So technically, again, not that worse. What? The battery only dropped 9%, guys. And the temperature increased from 32 Celsius to 50 Celsius. Now, the lowest frame rate was 1 FPS. I don't even know where. Let me just check the temperature and frame rate. So this here is the temperature. You can just see, by the way, that's pretty stable. Okay, and now let's check also the battery. So battery really stable. Temperature not so stable, running rather hot, but this, remember, is the performance mode. So technically a very impressive result from the Xiaomi 14 Pro 8 Gen 3 is really a powerhouse. And although first when I saw it, I was like not so impressed, but in the end of the day, it's still an upgrade over the Gen 2. Now I have to see how much the S23 Ultra will score. 8,166 for the best loop score, 6,148 for the lowest loop score. This is really, guys, how this stability rating is derived. It just calculates the delta and the gap. So 75% is fairly stable. But forget about everything else. Just see, like, I'm ready here. I'm still testing here. This here is the latest Apple A17Pro chip, guys. I believe this has a lot to say. Check these, guys. That's incredible. 5 minutes, and those phones, the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the S23 Ultra, are still battling. 44 Celsius here, so let's just check. 46.4, so I think the iPhone is really pumping everything it has. The Xiaomi already recovering to 41.
Finish him!
Oh, and the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max manages to finish 10 minutes, guys. 10 minutes after the Xiaomi, but at least we're here. 8 Gen 2. Apparently at the third place, 45.5. Okay, so I guess 45 is not that bad. Oh, look at that stability rating, guys. 64%. And now the good information. The best loop score on the iPhone is only 6,000. 8,000 here. And the lowest loop score is almost 4,000. Thus, we have a 64% stability, 10% less stable. And by the way, the graphics is also interesting. Like a strong start as here in the Xiaomi 14 Pro, then a drop, then stable here, and then a drop again. So now let's just check here the performance range. This is the frame rates from the best and the lowest loops. It's a bit more abrupt, not like on the Xiaomi 14 Pro, where we can just see that the gap is not so big. So here, at some point, whoop, I guess. And then, guys, it lost 10% of a battery, 9% here, so technically about the same. Maybe something positive, the frame rate here was only 5, the lowest one, compared to 1, but in the end of the day, yeah, I guess the A Gen 3 just smoked the A17 Pro, and I'm just waiting for the baby here to finish. Oh, and by the way, just by touching the phone, I can tell you, felt really hot.
A few moments later.
Put the video on pause and let me know what you think the stability rating will be. Oh, yep. So, it's 12 minutes, guys. 12 minutes after the stability ratings. Yeah, 63%. So it's very close to the A17 Pro, right? But technically the best loop score is lower, only 5,500. The lowest loop score is also lower than the A17. And you can just see the stress test, like I think Samsung are really famous with the thermal management. Yeah, it just starts stable and then goes down and down. But eventually this is it. Still the graphs I think are impressive, because here on the A17 Pro, what I don't like is that at some point, boom, the frame rates just drop. This is not the best, right? Like we are looking for more stable, more smaller gap here. 34 to 14%. So I guess in terms of battery, it is almost killed the phone. And the frame rate, sadly, only 1 FPS. 225 FPS. So temperature, frame rate, you can just see temperature really upped to something like 40 and then was stable. And on the Xiaomi, guys, you can see, let me just put also the custom chart here to include the battery. So you can just see that Xiaomi is really increasing the temperature, right, and keeping the performance. What you can see here on the S23 Ultra is that it was about 40 then try to keep it stable. Maybe the phone engaged with some throttling, thus the performance limited. And you can just see, by the way, the steep curve of the battery going down. So we have here a very clear winner, and this is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 and the Xiaomi 14 Pro, guys. Tomorrow I'm gonna do the normal Solar Bay graphic test to just see also what is gonna happen. The idea is to just see if we can get the same stability rating, but this is happening tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like content like this, don't forget to sub. I'm doing everything I can with those phones, and I really hope that some part of it is interesting. Thank you so much, VST. Over and bye.